Hey, Grand Ascension, everyone. How's everybody doing? Today is Tuesday, May the 20th, 2025, so they say. And I'm back to do another short reading over The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls, Part 2. I wanted to get into this with you. And before I do, a few days ago, I had recorded a video and had talked about the line of absolute zero in Antarctica. And it was in Claudio's books. And let me see if I have it up here on my desk. Yeah, I do. Excuse me. Here it is right here. It's under this book, Scrolls of Hawa. I want to recap something really quick. Okay. Claudio's having a conversation about the zone of the dead, or it's called the line of absolute zero. It's a place where the rules of this world seem to dissolve, and you begin to see things that don't belong to our reality. And this is where Antarctica is. Supposedly, this is past a certain point within Antarctica, or past the line, which when you do cross, they say that you see things and that you get a glimpse of other beings, of your loved ones, your deceased loved ones. And what they've said is the custodians have utilized this for their advantage. It says, the line is dangerous. Some speak of beautiful visions, ones that help them understand the future, but most aren't so lucky. Very important people, right? We're not going to say who, entertainers, politicians, those types of people. The kind everyone knows, though I won't name their names, have used it to predict the immediate future. But those visions aren't always benign. It says, it's not a place for everyone. That line, the line is a test. Only those with a clear purpose, with a deeper connection, can cross it and return with something useful. Otherwise, it becomes an experience you'd rather forget, one that can scar you for life. The custodians, the ones keeping us trapped in this walled world or walled realm, have found ways to use it for their own purposes. What they've done there is something I can't share with you, though you might already be aware. Many cases that science couldn't explain are linked to these experiments. And some say that there is a portal beneath the Hoover Dam. There's a pyramid and there's a portal beneath the Hoover Dam. And what CERN has been doing has been collecting enough dark matter, right, with the hadron colliders all positioned all around the world, because they have more than one, that they are building up to this great return of this being, pulling him through the dark, pulling him through the portal. Now, if you've watched Stranger Things, that kind of alludes to what is actually going on, right? They put things in TV and movies to show you, or to tell you, to prep your consciousness into submission. So I just want to call that out and just recap and remind you all that we've read that previously. And so I want to get into this part. So we're on chapter 8. All right. And I'm just going to read through and just kind of see where we are with this. So chapter 8 is a critical mass. Now, remember, this captain was adrift on the ship that he sailed with his crew. The crew disappeared. And now he was picked up by some beings in a spacecraft that hovered above the water. They took him back to their location, a future planet, and he is speaking with ancestral humans and the Magri, which is a race of entities. I don't want to say extraterrestrial because you could say interdimensional beings. Let's just say they're different sentient beings. They're different class of sentient beings, okay? Different race. Chapter 8, the critical mass. I tried to close my eyes several times, but it was impossible. My mind was like a tornado flooding me. Okay, my mind was like a tornado flooding me with millions of images all at once, ranging from the desperation during the navigation through the unknown sea to the encounter with those large-eyed beings who call themselves the Magri, and who had shown me lands that seemed to come from a distant future. Beside me was a cup with an infusion similar to the one I had already tasted. Riz, before leaving, had left there to help me recover, and according to her, also help me sleep. So I decided to drink a bit from that cup. Once again, it was very cold on the outside, while the liquid inside remained completely hot. I took a few more sips, and they helped me fall asleep, although I had the most vivid and strange dreams I had ever experienced. Fearing I would wake up again on my ship, overwhelmed by the total desperation of imminent death, hadn't interrupted, turning on the lights and waking me up. Rise and shine, Captain. I hope you were able to rest well. Today is an important day for us. I tried to speak, but I was still too sleepy to process anything for several seconds. I didn't even know where I actually was, but I thank Providence for not being adrift on my ship anymore. After recovering halfway, I followed Hatton along the path back, but we did not return to the Great Rock. Instead, we took another path leading to a coast where the sea looked very calm, seemingly welcoming us along the red sun that was positioned directly above us. Ventus was already there and greeted me again with a smile. It's good to see you again, Captain. I imagine it hasn't been easy to get much sleep. The wind blew strongly, carrying a strange chill, yet it didn't seem to penetrate my skin or make me shiver. Instead, it was a refreshing breeze under a mild climate. There were no clouds, no stars, any visible moon. Only the red sun, seemingly static in a completely sky blue sky with reddish hues. Sounds beautiful. On those shores, I could appreciate two completely opposite climates. On the side, a beautiful beach, almost Caribbean-like, and on the horizon, rocky mountains with snowy peaks. The white-colored covered trails vertically across the landscape. Inside me, a fire burned, scorching my heart, trying to understand everything that had happened and all that we had recently discussed. I started following Ventus, who walked ahead with his hands clasped behind his back. He walked very slowly, and his steps seemed to trace an invisible path that I immediately followed, never losing a single step behind him. I followed him until we reached a giant tree where its large roots were fully visible. Ventus then asked, as a navigator, "What are you looking for?" And here's the picture. It's beautiful. Almost reminds me of the giant tree that we have. And it also kind of reminds me of that giant black magnetic mountain that's in the center of our Earth, North Poles, right? That no one has actually ever reached, so they stay, right? All right, so he says, as a navigator, what are you looking for? I didn't know how to respond to that and just shrugged. And though I clarified so as not to remain silent, answers, the truth, liberation, maybe all those things at once. It's hard to clear my mind right now. Everything is happening so quickly. I understand. Right now you are like a man who sees a reflection in the water, Ventus continued, and believes that what he sees is true face. But yourself can confirm it is the water that shows you, or is it your mind that decides what you see? You cross the wall searching for what has always been with you, and without even knowing it. But to find it, you must first let go of everything you believe you are. Otherwise, we cannot continue down this path. Even though you're physically crossed, your mind will not be able to comprehend everything that surrounds you, nor the knowledge you can find here. Everything will depend on you. It is a path full of thorns from the past, Ventus declared. What do you mean by letting go? Letting go of everything you believe you are, Ventus repeated once again. But how could I let go of who I am? Wouldn't that be like dying? Letting go of my memories, my story, my image? Ventus smiled with a trace of sadness in his eyes, and then he said, that is exactly what you must do. Your story is like something stuck to a stone. It clings to it, but that doesn't make it the stone itself. It remains an external object. Your memories are like autumn leaves that have fallen there, and they're still. And the wind occasionally stirs them, creating either the most beautiful scene or the saddest one you can face. But that doesn't make them permanent. And your image, dear Tyler, the one you carry like a mask in every play, is nothing more than a mere illusion projected by the people who never truly knew you. If you want to know who you are, really, you must shatter that mask into fragments like a mirror falling before you. Oh boy. And how does one break it? I asked somewhat incredulously. Ventus then closed his eyes and remained silent for several seconds, and even though the entire world seemed to pause, he spoke again. These lands have always existed within you. Now they have become your physical reality, but they exist both outside and inside of each one of us. It is the connection we have us as the Zakarish we are. Now we will go even deeper, But even if you don't fully understand it, it is important that you hear this. Later, you will finish the process on your own in solitude. No one can accompany you on this path, but we can provide you with the tools from our ancestral education. Okay? This is what the children learn as they grow up happily in these lands, far from the disease and pain caused by the parasitic controllers inside, far from the wars between brothers imposed every day, from the political conflicts and the corrupt system. Above all, far from the false solutions that only generate more problems. The lands where you were born, dear Tyler, are a faithful reflection of what happens when a system is taken over by the darkest thoughts. Like a virus, slowly weakening your body, keeping it alive, but in agony. Still, you will also learn that many wars have been fought here and in many other worlds you will come to know. But when a war is fought between brothers, it is because there is a manipulator in the middle. Otherwise, there would be no conflict between them, as all of them seek happiness through the development of their people. Ventus then began walking again until he reached another tree, which seemed even older. And he said, now look at the top of this tree, how it reaches for the light, and yet aren't its roots deep in the darkness? Life has these two faces. You must sink into the darkness, into what you fear, to find your light, what you truly long for. But the answers will not come with words, nor with the foreign or ancient languages. They will come with silence, with the pure silence. You must listen to that silence. That's why I say everything is internal. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Our DNA holds at least 15 generations of epigenetic memories, if not more. Okay? We are our ancestors, like Chief said, and we can recall all of this information. And it may sound fantastical and science fiction to some, but I beg to differ. That this is just a gateway, right? You ask and you shall receive. Okay. It's your perception and how you analyze things. So he says, I sat in front of him with my face turned toward the shore, while the raging red sun seemed even more pronounced today. His words struck me like the waves crashing against the hardest rocks. I wanted to ask so many things, but at the same time, I felt I had to remain silent and simply listen to the sounds around me. They, the parasitic colonizers, the custodians, the Anunnakis, the Burians, the Greys, the Edamans, and all of those false gods who once played at ruling and who still remain in power in the lands you come from. They have projected skies over your world that are not real. False histories, and they built walls to prevent you from knowing this reality, affecting not only the lands physically, but also the minds of the new humanity. And like I've said before in many videos, we are the seventh generation of new humanity, based on what Claudio stated and based on indigenous teachings and the spoken word around different continents all around the world through autochthonous tribes, melanated people. I'm just saying. And even the my light skinned brothers and sisters, you have lore, right? But it's something that we all must come to an understanding. And it comes by you studying and you asking for the information and you allowing yourself to walk in a different light. So he says, they built these walls to prevent you from knowing this reality, affecting not only the lands physically, but also the minds of the new humanity. Yesterday, when you tried to sleep, didn't your mind flood you with painful images? Why do you think they always happen? The answers lie there, analyzing the bombardment of images until they dissolve into silence. Skies that are not real, those words kept repeating its mind. Look, Tyler, the sky they project there is not the true sky. Just look here. Observe the magnificence of the celestial dome. The sky of the land you come from serves a purpose, to distance you from the freedom, to make you feel like a tiny grain of sand in the vastness. The insignificance they want the new humanity to feel is unforgivable, because they have established such a strong system that it is almost impossible for anyone inside to completely break it. Here you can observe the upper waters, and even within them you can find astonishing answers about your past. The waters that flow there connect what you see with what you cannot even imagine. And within those waters, you will also find the Nashama, or the source. But they, the colonizers, locked you inside walls and false skies with fabricated histories far removed from reality. Everybody's walking around experiencing a lie, and everybody's comfortable in the perversion. I've said it before, and so has Chief Red Wolf. I mean, if you don't know something is wrong here, no matter how many movies, how many family dinners, vacations, entertainment, promotions at work, graduating college, high school, trade school, buying a new car, buying a new house, more consuming, and focusing on irrelevant bullshit, it doesn't get you back to source. It doesn't matter how many times you go into a church, how many times you go into a building, you go worship, you fish fries and dinners and potluck dinners and foot washings and plays and choir practice. It does not add up to what you are, right? As a sentient being. We've put on all these filters and we need to take them off. It's never been about external world. It's always been internal. But they have to keep you focused on the external so that you will never go into the internal. And then they put people in places as guards to keep you from going within because they say it's evil, right? Just like I was watching something on a video the other day when a preacher, a so-called, I'm going to call him black for this video, a young black preacher was saying, well, how can you be a child of God if you use sage in your house and you use crystals? You don't even understand what that represents. We've never been a religious people. We've always been spiritual. And when they came and hit these shores and brought religion and brought these teaching to us, we adopted them and accepted them. Just like we've accepted the fact, so-called, that we were slaves. We've never been slaves. We've always been prisoners of war because we've always been here in these lands. See, it only takes what? 1 generation, 2 generations to teach the false history? And for people to assimilate and believe what they read in books because it's printed, not ever trying to go and research other things because you're so focused on that material that you believe in what you read. So it says, modern science is being shaped to seek the destruction of spiritual life once and for all. And so they will constantly search for formulas and studies to reinforce the very lies themselves promote. Since science has been reduced to pure doctrine for many decades now. And although we, the ancestrals, have tried to intervene, I believe that with so many battles fought inside, that ultimately gained the upper hand. However, our desire to free everyone still remains intact. What do you mean by intervene? Have you visited my lands recently? I asked, feeling increasingly disoriented. Of course, we still have people inside sacrificing themselves for their brothers and sisters of the new humanity. Understand that crossing portals radically alters time, and both your body and mind suffer injuries. On top of that, the diseases and toxins constantly produced inside your lands through foods, the skies, and many other means further damage you. Yeah, but I won't go into all of that right now. They've poisoned every single thing on this planet, in this dome. They poison the food, water, the air, the soil. Everything that they mass produce has toxins in it. Everything. Everything's poisonous. So for me to sit up here and say that, it's like, what do we do about it? Unless you grow your own food, you buy local, and then you get to a point where you abstain eating. But you really have to go within. And that's what I say about the ascension journey, right? So then it says, understand that crossing portals radically alters time, and both your body and mind suffers injuries on top of the diseases and toxins constantly produced inside your lands through food, the skies, and many other means further damage you. But I won't go into that all right now. We have tried to alter the course of your history without causing a total collapse, something that could trigger a new reset. It's incredibly delicate work, like a surgeon operating millimeter by millimeter. The goal is to free the new humanity by revealing the truth about the Namashi, which is the energy within you and the source with the creator, its infinite spiritual potential and its connection to the upper waters and its celestial lands. I know you have countless questions about this, but for now, it's better for you to reflect on what you're discussing so your mind doesn't branch off into confusion. In what ways have you intervened? If you'll allow me to ask those questions, I clarify, try not to sound too anxious. Of course, Tyler. And you will find the answers directly in the history of one of your own, William Morris, who crossed the walls just like you did. Together with his daughter, Helen, he led many plans for partial liberation, but I can give you some insights right now. We have sent many ancestors to try to awaken a significant portion of the population to reach the critical mass necessary for the point of no return. Did we achieve that? No, we didn't. But we tried and we will keep trying. Point of no return. I accidentally interrupted almost without realizing it. Vincent slightly smiled and said, I was just about to explain. Don't be so impatient. The point of no return happens when a large number of people understand the truth about their surroundings and awaken to the reality of the infinite spiritual potential, which is in us. It's never been without. It's never been outside of us. Once we reach that threshold, it will be possible to open portals along the ice walls in the first dome, the barrier you also unknowingly crossed. The reason this critical mass is so important is because when the day comes, a new humanity must not fight against those of us trying to free them. If they see us as enemies, there would be no point in even attempting to liberation. First, a new humanity must reach the point where they understand their true essence, their history, their greatness, and the reality that surrounds them. It's impossible to fight against an invisible enemy. So to answer your original question, we have sent many ancestrals who, throughout your time, what you call years, shared knowledge in various forms. At one point, we sent 14,000 ancestrals, which was the highest number even sent as part of the awakening plan for the new humanity. Things did not go as we hoped. Many of them returned and many others died inside your lands. But so you understand, we have always been with you every moment, trying from this side to achieve something incredibly complex without triggering yet another complete reset like the many that have happened before. And I beg to state that if I ever got in touch with any of them, or if any of them ever contacted me, I would most definitely do my best to awaken as many as possible. But I also want to make the trip outside of the ice walls. And I dare say I probably would not want to come back. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I would not want to come back. Though this is delicate work here, I want to get to a point to where I ascend. And if I choose to go between both places, I want to be able to do it safely, obviously. But I also want to see the other side, and I want to see the other lands. I long for those lands. I do. The next chapter that I'm going to read is chapter 9, Induced Aging into the Human Cells. So I read chapter 8, okay? And incidentally, I will at some point over here on Facebook, I don't know about YouTube, I read chapter 8, The Critical Mass from this book, over on YouTube. There is a website that's called, let me see if I can find it really quick. I was looking at it this morning and I signed up for the newsletter. It's a society that you can join. Ancient bells. I can't find it on here. I was looking at it. I'm going to have to find the website. There is a society that you can join in your city and state. It's a National Society of Bells, right? Where we used to, in the 16th and 17th century, had chapels and buildings that contained old iron bells. And if you Google it, they try to say that the ancient bells were used during World War II, or the Nazis had taken all the bells down and had destroyed them. History of ancient bells in America churches. I remember as a child that there used to be bells that I would hear on Sunday mornings going into churches. And I can't find the website I wanted to tell you guys while I was on here. I may just share it on YouTube as well, but I'm going to share both. I'm going to share this video in both places. But nonetheless, I signed up for a newsletter for an ancient or a Bell Society, where we go out and in the first part of the supposedly fake New Year, which would be in January, they have a collective of people all across the United States and all across the world that go into these locations where bells are, and they ring them. And they have people that go and they partake in like music and, just reading and the history of what the bells were for and how they were utilized. And they have a chapter where they actually want to go dig up and restore the bells that were destroyed. And so that's interesting to me because I live in Houston, Texas. So I want to see if I can locate any local bells here in Houston and then go see them. Right. And I mean, that's just being me being a nerd, but I want to learn as much as possible about the history here in Houston because it was established. And if you look at the history of the Americas, you'll see that they typically have the foundation of a city around the 1800s, and that's after the Reconstruction and the fall of Tartary, right? If you go prior to 1700s, they're just going to say there's a certain amount of indigenous tribes that were here and that the European settlers hadn't came over and founded a town, which is bullshit because it really was. We already had towns founded. They just came over and assumed everything that was already built and was already here based on the fall of Tartary and the last Great Reset, the mud floods, right? But anyway, I will share that information with you guys. I don't want to be on here long. I just wanted to come on here really short and bring some, some interesting information. We talked about the line of absolute zero, the line, the point of no return. We also talked about the critical mass, with the journey of the captain and him meeting several different extraterrestrial species or beings. And also talked about what the custodians, the Nuberians, the Edamans, the Greys, the Anunnakis have done and how they have projected this false reality and false image in our skies and how everything's been poisoned and for them to keep us subjugated and a boot on our neck, basically, right? We're not free. We won't be free until we learn the truth. And, like my husband said, not everybody is at your level of understanding your knowledge. But my point is it's not enough just to say you go to church and you pray every day and you pray every week and you go into services and you're a good person and you work every day, you pay your taxes, you take care of your kids, your grandkids, you vacations, you've got money saved, your 401k, you're living your best life. That's not it. You're not even living because you don't even know who you are. You are living a world that they created. You're living in a world that they created. And that's my point. You need to break free from that. Everybody has their own belief and their own knowledge-based system, right? And belief, like I said, is a lack of knowing and knowledge. And there are a lot of people walking around here very ignorant to the truth. That's it. That's my point. So anyway, I appreciate you guys joining me for another quick read. You know what I always say, be the change you want to see all around this earth dome because it's up to you and I to make a positive change. I'll talk to you guys soon.